You aren't a man anymore. You are a component. You are the grease, the steel, and the violent heartbeat of 30 tons of rolling metal. Out here, in the mud of a dying empire in April 1945, the war is supposed to be over, but the dying hasn't stopped. The air smells like cordite and wet earth, and inside the belly of the beast, the only thing keeping the Reaper at bay is the 4 men sitting in the dark with you. They call this tank a fortress, and today, you're going to find out if she's your sanctuary or your coffin. You are a clerk who was trained to type 60 words a minute, not to scrape the remains of your predecessor off the turret walls. You step into the mud and meet the commander, a man whose eyes have seen too much of the world's cruelty to ever be soft again. He looks at you and sees a liability. The rest of the veteran crew treats you like a ghost that hasn't realized it's dead yet. You're the replacement, and your first job isn't to fight, it's to survive the suffocating smell of copper and iron inside the hull. The column moves out. You're peering through a narrow slit, watching the skeletal trees of a broken forest crawl by. Suddenly, the world explodes. An ambush. You see a child standing in the road, leveling a weapon at the lead vehicle. You hesitate. You don't pull the trigger. Because of your mercy, the lead tank turns into a pillar of fire, and men you just met are burned alive. The commander doesn't yell. He forces the reality of war into your hands. He pins you down and forces you to pull the trigger on a pleading prisoner. He's stripping away the civilian to find the soldier, teaching you the only law that matters in the mud: kill or be killed. As you push deeper into the heart of the enemy's territory, the facade of glory begins to crack. You see the atrocities, the hangmen who execute their own people for refusing to fight a lost cause. You find a fleeting moment of peace in a captured town, a memory of music and a shared meal, only for it to be vaporized by an artillery shell moments later. There is no sanctuary, the world is a meat grinder, and you are finally beginning to understand why the crew is so hardened. They aren't cruel, they are just exhausted by the weight of the souls they've been forced to take. Then comes the moment that defines you. A mine shears the track off the tank at a vital crossroads. The rest of the platoon is gone. You're immobile, a sitting duck in the middle of an open field. Then, you hear it, the rhythmic, haunting chant of an approaching battalion. Hundreds of enemy soldiers are marching your way. The crew prepares to run, but the commander stays. He lights a cigar and sits on the turret, ready for the end. One by one, the others stay. You stay. You spend the next hour turning the interior of the tank into a fortress of ammunition and grenades. When the enemy arrives, you wait until you can see the whites of their eyes. Then, you let hell loose. The crossroads becomes a slaughterhouse. You're loading shells and firing the bowgun until the barrel glows red, screaming over the roar of the fire. One by one, your brothers fall. One dies, shielding the crew from a grenade. Another is torn apart by gunfire. Finally, it's just you and the commander, trapped in the dark as the enemy drops grenades through the hatch. The commander is hit, slumped in his seat. His last act is to tell you to get out through the bottom escape hatch. You crawl into the cold mud beneath the tank, hiding in the shadows of the iron belly as the enemy swarms over the top of the steel tomb. A young enemy soldier, no older than you, shines a flashlight under the tank. Your eyes meet. You're hyperventilating, covered in the blood of your friends, waiting for the bullet. But he looks at you, sees the boy behind the soldier, and simply turns his light away. He walks on. He leaves you in the dark. Morning breaks over a silent field. The crossroads is littered with hundreds of bodies. The tank sits there, scorched and silent, a monument of steel. When the reinforcements arrive, they find you hiding inside, the sole survivor of the massacre. They pull you out and call you a hero. They tell you that you did a hell of a job. But as they drive you away, you look back at the tank one last time. You don't feel like a hero. You don't feel like a clerk. You are just a man who left his soul at a crossroads, riding away in a world that will never be quiet again.